there's two conversations happening, okay? One of them is there's people who are being put in situations that are not okay, that are way too stressful. They're not congruent to wellness and productivity. And then when they struggle, they're being told, you need to be more resilient. Resiliency is being weaponized, so is self-care. People are saying, well, you have to just self-care your way out of this distress, but it doesn't work like that. So I want to tell you a different approach about resiliency, and it starts with this question. Why do some people give up when life is hard, and why do other people find a way to get up? Now, when I started this research, a lot of folks were talking about things like resilient people are really strong. Okay, they're emotionally tough. They talked about grit. They talked about hardiness even. So when I went out into the world and I started to look for those things that the research said resilient people are, and I asked people, tell me about how strong you are. Tell me about how gritty you are. Tell me how emotionally stoic you are. The common response I would hear is, Robyne, I don't really think of myself like that. I don't think of myself particularly tough, particularly smart, particularly strong, but I know I can get by. Now, when we started to collate and bring all that data together, what we learned is that those people who didn't see themselves as resilient yet were, based on their life story, had 5 common variables, 5 common ingredients. Now, I'll tell you a wee bit about each one of them because we know this makes a difference. And the other thing that I think is important to recognize is these are things that can be taught, cultivated, fostered, and even forged. You are not born resilient. Okay, it's something that you can grow into. Now, the first one we talk about is a sense of belonging. Each and every one of us, we need a home team. We need people in our corner that are going to hold space for us. The research shows one caring, consistent champion in your corner is all it takes. Now, it can change over your lifetime. Perhaps when you were a wee one, it looked different, and maybe it's a different person now, but it's that idea that there's someone who sees you. And even when you mess up or make mistakes, they're still going to hold space for you. It's where we derive what we call psychological safety and the foundation of trust. We need to have that in our lives. Now, the second we learned about was perspective. Resilient people see the world in a different way. What we've learned is not only do they intellectualize the world, problem solving, critical thinking, innovation, they also feel the world. They have an alignment between their head and their heart. Sometimes the greatest deltas can actually be between your head and your heart. Have you ever decided something intellectually and your heart's like, not quite yet. I'm just going to ruminate over this for a wee longer, right? There's sometimes that can be off. Now, the third one we talk about in this work is acceptance, okay? Now, I hope even just hearing the word acceptance causes a wee bit of resistance for you, because the reality is there's a lot of things going on that aren't okay. We want to push back against things that are not okay. But what we've also learned about resilient persons is that they are able to decipher their controllables. They're able to recognize what is within their scope and influence of control and what is not. And they don't deplete their resources on things that they don't have control over. One of the things we often see, especially with high performers, is because you do figure things out, you sometimes get stuck trying to figure something out that might be, for example, unmovable. The most common example we see of what is unmovable that people spend a lot of energy working on might be their past. You cannot change anything about your past, but you can make the next right decision on where am I going to go from here? And we move forward. Now, the fourth variable that we talk about at this work, and I'll tell you, this is what the world needs a big dose of right now, in my opinion, is hope. Choosing to live hope-filled. Now, I got up on a huge stage a wee while ago, and I said, okay, everyone, hope is a strategy. Hope is a strategy. And the very next person who took the stage said, hope is not a strategy. And I was like, whoa, good thing I went first. But the reality, from a physiological perspective, hope is absolutely a strategy because hope changes your physiology. It doesn't use your resources as faster, your energy and your cognitive functioning when you're in a place of being hope-filled. There's this ease to your body. Now, the fifth and the final variable that we talk about, and again, we're going to create this foundation of resiliency, and then we're going to build tools off of this. The fifth one we talk about is humor. Well, we've learned resilient people tend to be kind of funny. We've also learned they have like a little dark streak in their humor. But what we know is that idea of laughter and joy and merriment and all of those little micro moments, it actually serves a biological purpose. So for example, when you laugh, your body releases a natural tranquilizer. So for that moment in time, your pain receptors are blocked and you can't feel pain. Now, it doesn't solve your problems, but what it does is just lightens the weight and the pressure of your situation enough for you to catch your breath, and that makes a difference. Now, I'll share with you another research finding, and I'm kind of concerned because this is what I'm being quoted for the most, and it's this. We've learned that people who swear, like curse or cuss, not at someone, just more in general, use it as an adjective perhaps. Are you ready for this? You ready? They live longer. Yeah, I know. My dear, dear friends, there is hope for many of us. Well, why is that? We've identified what's called the flowing versus a brewing state. Now, a flowing state means that life happens and you just kind of roll with it a wee bit, right? Maybe you have some colorful language and you let go of some of that tension versus the brewer, the person who bottles it up and brews on it, and that actually depletes your resources faster. So you're taxing your body in a significant way. So just kind of helpful to think about. Now, what I've done and I've seen in my work is that those 5 variables work together to create this constellation of things that we can lean into that are going to help us weather difficult seasons of our lives.